Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the Online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used this really wild team featuring Azurill and Runerigus, so we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. I feel like I got very lucky in the last episode, and we ended up winning, the matches, but they easily could have all been losses, and I didn't actually get one game where, I just went with Togekiss plus, the Runerigus lead and then bring in Azurill and just activate weakness policy on turn 2. So ideally we get a setup for like that sometime today. But I also didn't bring out Dracozolt at all in the last episode. So yeah, definitely some room to play with both Lilligant and Dracozolt. And I gotta give my apologies to Maractus again because I called it Lilligant in the last episode. So yeah. Either way, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Ranked, and if you enjoy, please show your support by leaving a like, and details for the team are in the description below. This team definitely is, just a lot more, I think, fun, just because it features an Azurill. Maybe not the most competitive team, but certainly has a lot of cool components to it. So, first game of the day. My opponent has their own Trick Room, but I'm not that worried about their own Trick Room, especially because we have Torkoal and Azurill. I really think this could be a solid game, finally, for Togekiss, Runerigus, Azurill, Torkoal. Although, I say finally, I brought that every time we played last time with this team, but I think it does have room to succeed here. Dragozolt doesn't match up super well. Well, it's weird here, I guess, because it actually does do a fair amount of damage, but it also takes a lot in return, and my opponent has Intimidate, so those don't add up super well. And Lilligant is not good here. Yeah. I guess with Lilligant, I don't know, the question I ask myself with Lilligant is, can I bring Lilligant plus Torkoal? But I don't think the answer is yes here, especially into a Dragapult specifically, neither Lilligant. Well, I guess the thing with Lilligant and Torkoal is you always have an out with Sleep Powder, so that alone would be a reason to bring it. I don't know if it's the best here, though, so we'll see how things go. It's going to be Dragapult plus Dusclops. Okay, this definitely could be Follow Me into Max Phantasm turn 1. Either way, I'm just going to go for... Sorry, I said Follow Me. What I meant was their Dusclops going for Self-Shadow Sneak. I think I'm just going to go for the safe Follow Me plus the Trick Room. What we want is ideally to just get the Azurill in, right? Maybe they switch Dragapult out here. I could see them switching Dragapult out, but then the next turn would be really interesting. Also, I guess one question is, where's the weakness policy on my opponent's team? They have a Dragapult, but they also have a Glastrier. Both of those definitely are, good users of policy, and with Dusclops, you have Self-Shadow Sneak into Dragapult and Rock Tomb into Glastrier. So, let's see how turn 1 plays out. Dusclops is obviously just already a really good Pokemon, but Frisk is also really valuable. They actually switched Dusclops out, into Incineroar. You know what, I'm quite happy about that. Especially if they end up just going for a Max Phantasm turn 1 onto Togekiss. Ideally, they match Dragapult here. Okay, they just go for Protect. That's not a bad turn, but I guess this next turn is a little bit awkward because they could go, Fake Out into Togekiss and then Phantasm, I suppose, into Runerigus. That's not even that bad, is it? Kind of want to just switch Runerigus out into a Azurill here. I could Yawn. I have Dazzle. I don't know. Fake Out into Togekiss here feels likely. You know what I could also do? I could just protect Runerigus here. Switch Azurill, Togekiss out into Azurill? Yeah, I kind of like this. Protect Runerigus, because if you end up maxing Dragapult, then I could just Brutal Swing Earthquake next turn. I guess the main thing I don't know is how much EQ... I don't know my Runerigus calc super well. Okay, they actually switch out Dragapult, so that works for me. And they're going to go back out into Dusclops. That is perfectly fine. What could be a really good play from them is, a Parting Shot from the Incineroar. So I'm nervous about that. Okay, they go for Parting Shot, but this is perfect. They target Runerigus. So it's finally time. We can just go Brutal Swing here and Earthquake, I think. They have no safe switch-ins into... Well, actually, they do have a couple switch-ins in Galarian Moltres. But that's it, right? I don't think Moltres is going to be their last one. Either way, I'm just going to go Brutal Swing Earthquake here. I think there's very little downside. Question is how much we do to Dusclops. But there's the weakness policy. And we're intimidated, right? So I'm assuming Dusclops will survive here. But I'm glad we finally get a game where we get this set up without, like, having to rely on any good fortune. Ah, but there's Shuckleberry. Okay, is that enough to allow them to survive? I would think so, but let's find out. Oh, it still just gets the KO. Okay, so now the question is, does Dusclops reverse Trick Room? You would think so, right? But then if you reverse Trick Room, I can just bring in Togekiss. Huh. I also could have just maxed there, but I don't think Phantasm was going to KO. So we definitely go on to Togekiss now. Now the game gets really interesting, because if you bring in Dragapult, like, do you predict me to go for Trick Room? If you bring out Dragapult, I could also just follow me Phantasm, right? So then a big question is, what is my opponent's last Pokemon? If it's Glastrier, that actually works in our advantage, because the Runerigus will outspeed Glastrier. So if you bring out Glastrier right now, I can just follow me Earthquake. Oh, not necessarily. I guess if you bring out Glastrier, if I follow me EQ... Oh no, but it's fine, right? Because then you'd have... Well, yeah, you'd have to max Glastrier. Oh, but they might have Shadow Sneak on Dusclops. So I'm thinking, if you're my opponent... Okay, they just bring out Dragapult. So now the game's really interesting. Like, we have the Runerigus set up, right? That's obviously pretty good. The question here is... Follow me is so obvious. What's my opponent's last one going to be? It's pretty easy to just go follow me and, like... Oh, I don't have Max Phantasm. If I'm my opponent, like, I just think this Dusclops has Shadow Sneak, so then the question is whether or not Shadow Sneak into an attack from Dragapult is enough to KO Togekiss. I wouldn't think so. But they still totally could be Life Orbed. I also could max Togekiss, which is wild here, but could work as an answer against Dragapult. I'm going for Follow Me here. It should be Earthquake even if we timed out there. I didn't know which one was the best play. I think it was to set up Trick Room. Yeah. I'm not sure. This is a really big turn. Like, Follow Me EQ was the play I wanted to originally make. It's the one we'll end up making. The question is how bulky Togekiss is and whether or not it can survive an attack from the Dragapult here. Oh, they don't go for Shadow Sneak, though. Okay, then this is fine, I think. Oh, that doesn't come close to KOing Togekiss. Okay. It does notably get a defense drop on us, though. Okay, I think... I mean, we'll KO the Dusclops. Over 50% into Dragapult, which is really nice. So another one will obviously KO. And I would think their last one's Glastrier. It makes the most sense if you're bringing out Dusclops. Yep, there it is. Okay. Now I'm just afraid this Glastrier is, like, fast. I also have Dazzling, but I don't know if that KOs Dragapult from this range. What I'm worried about is, like, Glastrier outspeeds my Runerigus. I mean, it's a speed tie, isn't it? Oh, brother. So you would just Phantasm into Togekiss here. I want to max Togekiss here, because if we survive, we KO Dragapult, we win the game. Even if Runerigus faints, I think. So I'm gonna go for Max Starfall. I don't think maxing Runerigus is the play. Because I have a defense drop on it anyway. The only question here is whether or not Togekiss survives the Phantasm, because I'm at -1 defense. I think it's really close. But the thing here is, like, yeah, let's say even if we end up losing the potential speed tie between Glastrier and Runerigus, we can still win the game with this play. Oh, wow. That's a really interesting option, but that's actually fine. I think Phantasm would have KO'd us, but they didn't go for Phantasm in the end. Probably because I don't think they considered the Max Togekiss option. I don't know. That was, like, too close for comfort, though, because I think if I did if they just Phantasm, I think I just lose there, right? Because, well, no, not necessarily, because then it's a speed type between Runerigus. But the thing is, then it feels like I didn't maximize my max usage. Although, if I didn't max either Pokemon there, then Torkoal could have been the solution as a max option. And unfortunately for them, they actually missed Icicle Crash, so that will secure us the game. But I think we had the game won anyway, to be honest. Okay, wow, Runerigus and a crit to boot. So, our good fortune continues, but I think even if Icicle Crash connects, it's still Togekiss plus Torkoal, and I don't think the Glastrier is one-shotting Torkoal, even with an attack boost. Yeah. Maybe if it's Life Orbed. Okay, well, I'm kind of curious about that calc, so let's do it. If they were Life Orb Glastrier, actually, with the attack boost, they would one-shot Torkoal. If they weren't Life Orbed, it's never a KO, so I feel like they should be Life Orb, though, right? I mean, Assault Vest is another explanation for the item. So then if they did connect and they were Life Orb, the endgame scenario becomes Togekiss and Torkoal against Glastrier. So then Glastrier has to make the decision, do I high horsepower into the Torkoal slot, or do you target the Togekiss slot? The problem is that Togekiss probably doesn't do very much damage even with the max Starfall, because it's not an offensive Togekiss. So, I don't know, I think my decision to max Togekiss might have been a little bit suspect. It did end up winning us the game, but like we got a little bit lucky in that endgame as well. So, yeah. The good fortune continues. This reminds me of like one of the first teams I built in this format. It is the same 6 Pokemon, but I don't know if it's the same sets. Okay, well, it's actually very similar to the last team we just played, right? Like Dragapult, INcineroar, Dusclops, Glastrier. So that's pretty interesting. I think I'm just gonna go Togekiss, Runerigus again. We've had some of like the best RNG on Road to Rank with this team, so we certainly take those. Yeah, I mean Lilligant, meh. They have Fini, which makes it even worse. Yeah, I think we just go with this. But I don't know, I don't feel great about how that endgame played out. Like, it felt like we should have gotten the win after the Phantasm into Togekiss and the Earthquake turn, but like I could have very easily lost from that position, it felt like, too. Should I have maxed Runerigus any earlier? I think what may have been an acceptable play. Yeah, you know what I like more? I need to do my Runerigus. Okay, I'm gonna do the calc right now. But I think Runerigus into Dragapult max Quake would be better. So I'm just calculating that KOs because I think it should, and if it gets the knockout, then my opponent can't win, especially with Torkoal as my last one. Unless Glastrier one-shots Dynamax Runerigus, which I suppose is a possibility. Okay, +1 Max Quake into Dragapult is definitely a KO. So I think I should have just maxed Runerigus, honestly, and gone Follow Me Max Quake the turn my opponent went for Phantom Force, or sorry, Max Phantasm into Togekiss. It's Togekiss plus, sorry, INcineroar plus Fini here. That's a really good lead by them, I think. Fini, I feel like, has been a really big issue, and I keep misplaying against it. Specifically not bringing Dracozolt. But it's hard to win the team preview matchup here, because if I bring Dracozolt, my opponent has Dragapult and Glastrier. So I just got outled here, but like, it's tough for me to feel confident with Dracozolt in a game 1 of just a best of 1. Or in just a best of 1 in general, yeah. So now I'm wondering, can I change the terrain anyway? Nope. Fake out Muddy Water, or fake out Calm Mind feels like the most likely play, right? Okay. I almost want to just Helping Hand Earthquake then. Because the main thing is we want to do enough... Okay, they actually switch out Incineroar. That's interesting. Into Glastrier. Fini maxing here would be bad. Okay, they don't max. I mean, should we Calm Mind? Muddy Water would actually be really interesting, because then you would just activate my policy. Yeah, they go for Calm Mind. Still isn't great, though, because EQ is not going to do that much damage into Fini. I think Calm Mind Fini in general is just really strong into Runerigus, unfortunately. And my opponent had a very, very nice lead here. Oh, that is no damage at all. You gotta be a little bit better than that, Runerigus. Okay, how do we win this? I need to hope for them to Muddy Water. You should always go for a Max Hailstorm and a Togekiss. And then Muddy Water, but what I'm hoping for is I can switch out Togekiss into Torkoal. That sets up the Sun. Then they Muddy Water, they activate my Weakness Policy, and then I KO Glastrier with a max Rockfall. This is very suspect, but I think it's our best bet. Because Calm Mind Fini, turn 1 against our lead is like a near auto win, especially because they made a very good play in just Calm Minding turn 1. It's the obvious play, right? But it's still the best play. And the thing here is that my opponent kind of just hard won the lead. Oh, great switch too. Okay, they don't get baited into that. They're gonna go into Incineroar. Yeah, I don't really see much of an out here because my damage output into Fini needs to come from Dracozolt, but the problem is that Dracozolt still gets count. Oh, they don't max Fini. Okay, so they're going for Muddy Water, you would think, or potentially another Calm Mind. Muddy Water would be the best outcome, honestly, because if they were to Muddy Water, we would probably KO Incineroar. But unfortunately, this team doesn't operate as strongly if you don't get like the Weakness Policy, Brutal Swing stuff off with Runerigus. That's a really critical component to winning with the team. And unfortunately, I didn't set it up super well in this game. Okay, we missed, but that's like the one time we actually wanted it to hit, because it would have activated Weakness Policy. So, hilarious enough, that actually works against us. Although, quite frankly, I'm not sure Max Rockfall would have KO'd Incineroar. Actually, there's no way it would have KO'd. Yeah. Well, the upside, now at least, is that Tapu Fini can activate our Weakness Policy. This is actually still very winnable depending... Like, this turn, if my opponent just activates my policy for me, maybe I can knock out the Fini with a Max Quake, although they should probably just Parting Shot into the Incineroar slot. Sorry, Parting Shot into the Runerigus slot. So, that was one of the only times we wanted that to hit. It's so weird Azurill's normal and fairy, I'm still not used to that. Sash is pretty useless now that I've already set up the Sandstorm. Can I bring in Azurill? Nah, I think we gotta go into Togekiss. I'm gonna go Togekiss and Max Quake here with the hope that they don't Max Fini, that they end up activating our Weakness Policy, and for some reason they don't Parting Shot with Incineroar. But if you're my opponent, the freest play is to just Parting Shot Runerigus and Muddy Water here. Or even Protect Fini. Okay, so there's Muddy Water, Policy activated at least. Another accuracy drop, but that doesn't really matter. Oh, wow. Fini's getting all the accuracy drops, but fortunately for us, it's not that big of a deal. Intimidate is also just a problem, right? Especially because the main attackers on our team are all physical attackers in Runerigus and Dracozolt. Now, of course, you could use Lilligant, but Lilligant into a matchup with, like... You're not going to max Lilligant, right? So, yeah. It's kind of tricky to break through. I guess I could have set up Trick Room turn 1, but then I'm also still kind of in an awkward spot. Like, it feels like the answer against Fini was Dracozolt here, but, like... You know, it's easy to say, oh yeah, just bring Dracozolt, but then like Incineroar is just so good for cycling in with these Intimidates. The problem is I don't think Max Quake even KOs Fini right now, right? Like, we're still at -1 attack because they intimidated us, switched out, and got a Parting Shot against us. So it's -3 attack, and then now it's at -1 after the policy. So what I could do next turn, obviously, is switch out. Now, I also get a special defense boost. That's actually decently valuable for us. This is still winnable, right? Because, like, my opponent's max option at this point has to be Glastrier, and I do have answers against Glastrier. Like Torkoal in Sun under Trick Room, for example. Unfortunately, that activates Fini's Berry. Okay. That's a bummer. Although, I don't think there was any way around it, but yeah, breaking through Fini here is so tough. I honestly just want to go for Helping Hand here in Max Quake. If you're my opponent, you probably just follow me. You can even switch Indeedee back out into Incineroar. Like, I just can't break through the Intimidate cycling right now, which is so tough. At least Dracozolt would have pressured Fini right from the get-go. Interesting that they didn't go for a Follow Me there. But Expanding Force makes a lot of sense here, too. That's just a ton of damage. We should survive because of the special defense boost, but barely, yeah. I don't even know if this K is. Runerigus' damage output's just very lacking if you don't get the whole zero strategy set up. It does actually manage to get the knockout, so that's nice. What's our path to victory right now? We're so slow. We can't really set up Trick Room. They have Glastrier. It's not looking great. Azurill's in the back, but at this point it's basically useless for us, unfortunately. And they have spread damage from Indeedee, so don't really see an out. Yeah. Glastrier comes back in. Well, is there an out? No. You're just Expanding Force now. I mean, I can protect Runerigus, get a free switch in, but then where do I go from there? Can't KO the Indeedee. That's the problem. I guess if for some reason... So I'm gonna yawn off onto Glastrier. Yeah, no Psychic Resists here also makes it so that Indeedee is actually a pretty good offensive tool for my opponent. Yeah, I don't see an out here, unfortunately, but I think our best bet is, for some reason, Togekiss and Indeedee have been speed tying. We outspeed Indeedee, we get a yawn off into Glastrier. I think that's really the only thing we can hope for right now. That's interesting. I like that play a lot from my opponent, actually. You don't risk anything, because you know Expanding Force is double KOing anyway, and then you get to conserve your Dynamax as well. Although, honestly, I think that turn was an opportunity to just max Glastrier, because you could snowball the game really quickly from that point. But maybe they were afraid of like the speed tie risk as well. That would make a lot of sense. So what else could I have brought? Lilligant Torkoal. I really don't like that. The awkward thing about Lilligant Torkoal is also, like, I set up the Sun via Torkoal, which means your Flare Blitz from Incineroar does more into Lilligant. Yeah, this game's over, I think. So, like, it is somewhat dependent on Trick Room if you go with the Azurill Runerigus combo, but the problem is that my opponent had a really good lead. And like, this is just the example of finding a lead that covers every option, right? I don't have a good answer into INcineroar plus Tapu Fini, Calm Mind Tapu Fini specifically, unfortunately. Dragozolt is our best bet, but even then, it's still not amazing because you already get an initial Intimidate off, right? And then so you could just protect Fini turn 1, like Parting Shot into the Incineroar, sorry, Parting Shot into Dragozolt. Like, there's no way around the Intimidates. So then the answer is, okay, can I use a special attacker? I'm looking at, you know, the Torkoal and the Lilligant now. But even then, you know, Lilligant pressures the Fini on turn 1, but you could just protect the Fini, Flare Blitz into the Lilligant. So then, you would think, okay, well, why not just use Sleep Powder then? Sleep Powder also doesn't work because there's the Tapu Fini on the field, which sets up the Misty terrain. So, yeah. That was a good example of my opponent finding the best lead and playing it perfectly. So, that's how Pokemon shakes up sometimes, right? Sometimes your opponent, like, that's why team preview is important, because one, if you're able to identify that key lead, then it can give you a substantial advantage going into the game. Like, sometimes people have team advantages, but they don't notice it, and in that game, my opponent certainly did. However, like I always say, even if the team matchup is bad, you can certainly still win the game. You just have to play out of your mind, basically. But you also have to often hope for, like, good RNG or mistakes from your opponent's end, and in that game, you know, they just executed really, really well. So, no shame in losing a game like that. I think, you know, my opponent made all the right plays. The only thing I think maybe could have been more interesting for them is if they max Glastrier, but they were so far ahead in that game, to be honest. Like, and I honestly like the decision to not max Glastrier there. So yeah, I really think they played that as well as possible, and they brought really good set of Pokemon as well. It was really tough in the end to break through the Fini plus the Indeedee. And so, yeah, I gotta think a little bit harder about how to beat Incin Fini. I think I just have to pressure it offensively on turn 1. So it means leading Dragozolt or Lilligant as great. And, like, despite that not feeling great, it's still probably the best answer. Alright, final one here, and we got Cinderace, now Ego, Cobalion, Spectrier. Also, my opponent's like rank 55, which is really cool. It's a really cool team. I think we're just gonna run it back one last time, which is Togekiss, Runerigus, Azurill, Torkoal. Poor Lilligant or Dragozolt saw no play in this team. I guess in the last one I should have just brought the Dragozolt, but the thing is that, like, we very easily could have swept with the Runerigus. Like, it could have been kind of similar to game 1 if my opponent went with a different set of Pokemon. But yeah, if I were to play a best of 3 against that last opponent, like, Incin plus Fini is just such a good lead that, like, I would probably go with Lilligant Dragozolt to at least give us a chance on turn 1. But even then, if you're my opponent, it's very easy to get around the Dragozolt stuff. I guess, like, you know what I think the best lead is in game 2? It's Togekiss Dragozolt. Because what I can do is I can Helping Hand Max Lightning turn 1. Or Helping Hand Max Quake Incineroar. Or I don't even Max Dragozolt. I could just switch it out but bait my opponent into protecting or switching out Fini. So, like, I think if I were to replay game 2 specifically to try to counter Incineroar plus Tapu Fini, I would go Togekiss, Dragozolt, Runerigus, and Torkoal. And just drop Azurill, because getting the Azurill plus Runerigus combo off is nearly impossible if they bring Incineroar plus Tapu Fini as the lead. So then I'd go Togekiss Dragozolt. I have pressure with Helping Hand. The other big question is the item on the Incineroar, right? Because if you're... can you survive Max Quake from Dragozolt with the Helping Hand support? I'm not sure about that, Cub. I think it depends on how bulky Incineroar is, but not 100% sure about that. Either way, this team has been a blast to play with. Like I said, I don't think it's like the most competitive or most serious team, but it's really fun, and we've been able to get some really cool wins with it on the board as well, so certainly can't complain. This is a really good lead by my opponent, though, isn't it? If you want to beat this lead specifically, just go with spread damage. And that's what my opponent did, so well done. Oh, this is going to seem kind of wild. Okay, yeah, it is kind of wild. I was going to say, I think we can just Dazzling Gleam and Protect turn 1. I was going to max Togekiss immediately, but I don't think that's really worth it, because then my opponent just gets a free switch in, and I lose my Follow Me support. And because we have Focus Sash, yeah, I think I'm willing to just Dazzling Gleam and Protect turn 1. I'm just worried about this being mixed for Physical Drago. I mean, pure Physical is pretty rare. And the upside about Togekiss is that it does do pretty well into Regidrago. Togekiss, by the way, is trending upwards significantly. Like, a lot of players are using it. You know, Scope Lens Togekiss is making the great return, like Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash, Follow Me, Protect. General Support Togekiss is also good. So the game plan here is hoping they just go Dragon Energy into Phantasm. We go for Dazzling to significantly reduce Regidrago's damage output, and then next turn just go for Follow Me, Trick Room. Because if we get Trick Room up into my opponent's team, I think we should win the game. But I can't set it up on turn 1, especially with the threat of Choice Specs Regidrago. They're going to go with Max Phantasm. Great target. Okay, that makes things significantly harder depending on the Regidrago item. Maybe that's fine, actually. Because this means Togekiss stays fully healthy. Which means next turn, I could actually maybe just max Runerigus instead, right? Okay, yeah, they go for Dragon Energy. Yeah, I like the decision not to max Togekiss. Let's see how much this does. Okay, so the question is, how much do you do into Runerigus? Like, can your Dragon Energy KO? I honestly don't think so. So I just want to go for a Follow Me here in a Trick Room. Because if we get Trick Room up, I honestly think we win the game. I don't see how my opponent beats Runerigus under Trick Room, especially with Policy already activated. I can just go Helping Hand EQ, sweep everything. Regidrago is super low here as well, and we have the Focus Sash on Togekiss. So the question is whether or not Runerigus can survive Dragon Energy specifically from Regidrago. No other attack will work, right? If you go for any spread type, sorry, not spread, single target, it just gets redirected into Togekiss. So let's see. Our whole goal is to get up Trick Room. My opponent's team is really fast-paced and offensive. I think they're probably Specs. Oh, they go for Dragon Pulse. Okay, perfect. Nice. Alright, I really think we should have full control of the game now. The main thing here, I think we just go for Dazzling Gleam, and we just max Runerigus and max Quake. Like, yes, it'd be fun to get the combo off here, but I think it's too risky. I don't need to get huge power on Runerigus, because Runerigus should just one-shot pretty much everything on my opponent's team at this point in the game. So yeah, I'm willing to go for Dazzling Gleam, max, and go for max Quake onto Spectrier. Now, if you're my opponent, what you could do is obviously max guard Spectrier, sacrifice Regidrago, get a free switch in. But then what I do is I just keep going for Follow Me, right? Yeah. Like, my opponent's team is not good into Trick Room. That's one of the downfalls of using a hyper-offensive fast team. So we're in a good position right now. I do think I should learn my Runerigus calcs a little bit better. Because if Helping Hand plus EQ is just a knockout here, then that's always objectively the best play. Because you don't waste a max turn and you cover for any options. They actually protect Drago. That's fine by me. Okay, so confirming it's not choiced. Although we knew that as soon as it went for Dragon Energy. Okay, +2 max Quake. Nice. Gets the KO. Okay. I was a little bit nervous Spectre could survive there, but that should ensure us the win, to be honest. I really don't see how my opponent can come back from this, because I also get a special defense boost, and my opponent's team is actually more specially oriented than physical. Their main physical attacker is Cinderace. If you bring out Cinderace, what I'm going to do is just Follow Me with Togekiss to prevent a Sucker Punch critical hit, and then just max... Would I want to max Quake or Rockfall into Cinderace? Quake is stronger, obviously. Yeah, the main thing here is, unfortunately, Regidrago is really weak into Togekiss. But I think both Regidrago and Togekiss are two Pokemon you should watch out for in the metagame right now. They're both quite powerful. So, yeah, I really like our spot right now. And the main thing here is just recognizing that Trick Room, I think, is really strong to my opponent's team. And because they actually activated our weakness policy on turn 1, you know, we could adapt our game plan a little bit. The main thing to know with this team is that you do pretty much need the policy activated, otherwise the game is going to be a lot harder for you to play. But now, I can just go for a follow me here. I think it's always Quake. They don't have a switch it into ground type. Like, the only fear here is that for some reason they're Focus Sash and then they, I don't know, what, bounce? Okay, yeah, they actually just end up forfeiting, because that's the thing, right? My opponent's team in that last one reminded me a lot. I mean, we've used Hyper Offense a lot on Road to Ranked, as you see, it unfortunately does fall apart if Trick Room goes up. And so a lot of the Hyper Offensive teams are designed to, like, deny Trick Room as hard as possible. But Togekiss ended up being a really good lead into my opponent, and also what was really critical was, you know, Regidrago kind of falls apart a little bit past turn 1 if you do that chunk of damage, because it really relies on Dragon Energy. And Togekiss, like, the upside is that we knew we weren't threatened by Regidrago unless it were, like, a mixed set, and it carried away to hit the Togekiss. And my opponent didn't do any damage into Togekiss turn 1, so we were in a really, really good spot going into turn 2. And in the end, I'm guessing they weren't Specs, right? They obviously weren't Specs. So then it's, like, whether or not they could have KO'd the Runerigus, yeah, with the Dragon Energy at like 30%, but I'm pretty sure the answer to that is no. But that's a pretty fast game, so let's play one last one and hope that Azurill can come out and end things off with a bang. Alright, final one of the day, and with this team. A lot of Dusclops Dragapults today, surprisingly. Dragapult's making the comeback. It's really funny to see things like Dragapult and Togekiss, like, you know, kind of fall out of the meta a little bit and then just come, like, swinging back. Also, is that an Aurorous? I don't think I've seen that since, like, X and Y. I didn't even know it was in the game, to be honest. Okay. Well, they have Intimidate. There's no Tapu Fini. That's the main thing. Nah, I don't think it's the Lilligant or Dragazult here. Lilligant Torkoal is so good if they don't, like, if they don't have a resist to a fire type attack, right? But they consist, like, all my opponents have had pretty good answers into Torkoal as a lead. Yeah, I'm down for just Togekiss, Runerigus, Torkoal, Azurill. So I think if there's one thing you can take away from the games that we played with this team, if you run into Tapu Fini, you need to consider bringing Lilligant or Dragazult, because that was the key mistake I made in the last episode, and we got, like, bailed out, and then today we just lost, right? Now, unfortunately, like, if they have, like, that core of Incineroar plus Fini, that already makes it pretty tough, but you at least have a better shot of winning with the Dragazult or a Lilligant lead. I think, yeah, just go Togekiss Dragazult, honestly. This is really good for us, I would say. Yeah, I just go Dragapult plus Zapdos. I mean, I almost want to just Dazzling Gleam, but I think we just go for the safe follow me into Trick Room setup. The question, though, is then where do I go from there? If you're my opponent, it's very easy to just go Max Phantasm and then attack turn 1. I mean, you should Max Dragapult here, right? Maybe they don't because they're afraid of Trick Room. That would make a lot of sense. The fear here is that I don't do enough damage. Yeah, Ghost-type attack on Runerigus would be really interesting, because if we had a Ghost-type attack, what I could do turn 1 is sacrifice Togekiss, then bring out Torkoal, and then go Eruption, Max Phantasm into the Dragapult slot. But then I guess the problem with Runerigus is that it's only base 95 attack, right? It's pretty low. You don't do that much damage at all. Pretty big downside. But... oh, wow, okay. That's a great decision to not max Dragapult. It's a really good decision. Okay, they go for Thunderous Kick. Although this might mean that you're going for what? Dragon Darts? What are they going for? Oh. I think that's a really good play. I think that's a really good play. Huh. So now what? I think I'm still just going to go for Follow Me here. And Rock Slide. Rock Slide gives me a flinch chance. To be honest, if they don't end up knocking out... oh, okay. Incineroar coming in? That would make a lot of sense. Yeah. How could I have played this turn better? Could have switched Togekiss out, although I actually don't know if Dragapult KOs even with the defense drop. Yeah, if you're Life Orb, you probably do, but let's see. That was a nice play turn 1. I really like how my opponent did not get baited into Dynamaxing. I think that was very smart. No, granted, I don't, I don't think a lot of players would Dynamax in that position because you're obviously facing Trick Room, but... oh, boy. Oh, that is really bad news for us. Okay, they don't knock out Togekiss. Maybe we're fine then. I can just switch Runerigus out right now. Like, honestly, I want to yawn into Incineroar here and then switch out into Azurill. Because I could see them maxing Incineroar from this position. I have to switch Runerigus out. If I'm my opponent, I'm maxing Incineroar because I'd be worried about max Runerigus. I also could have considered Helping Hand Max Quake this turn. Because if I didn't think my opponent was maxing Incineroar, Helping Hand plus Max Quake might have been a KO onto Incineroar. But then the thing is, if they max Incineroar, we kind of just lose the game. Whereas here, I could see them getting baited into targeting the Runerigus slot. And if they target Runerigus and I get the yawn off, and you knock out Togekiss, we're actually in such good shape, right? Because then I just bring out the Runerigus, Brutal Swing, Earthquake, we should just win the game from there. Okay, you know what then? I shouldn't have even gone... I could have just gone for Follow Me this turn, because then I would have just gotten the free switch and back into Runerigus. I didn't need to yawn here. Yawn was a waste. Yeah, I don't love that. Yeah, they protect Dragapult, that's good. But if I just went for Follow Me this turn, it felt like the game was basically over. They go for Darkness. Alright, nice job, Azurill. Azurill survives. Okay, I think we're actually in really good shape then still. Yeah. I think we're actually in very, very good shape right now. Mainly because I do get the yawn off successfully. I just think, like, this... Because now I don't get too much mileage out of my Trick Room, right? I only have 2 turns left, whereas if I went for Follow Me, Togekiss would have fainted, and then Dragapult's never putting on offensive pressure against Azurill. Like, normal Fairy is actually the perfect typing to beat Dragapult. So I would just sacrifice Togekiss, bring in the Runerigus, Brutal Swing, Earthquake, and then, like, there's not really much counterplay to that at this point in the game. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about... Azurill's actually super good into Dragapult. That's wild. Okay, I'm just gonna go for a Follow Me here. I don't know about soaking Dragapult here. That seems questionable. Alright, they switch out. RIllaboom? Okay. Well, getting Soak off here is nice, but this is what I mean, right? If I had just... Well, I guess... they could have always switched out Dragapult then, subsequent turn. I don't know. The Grassy Seed as well. Okay, but this is fine. Yeah. Because I just bring out Torkoal now. So you're going to KO the Togekiss. I also change your Rillaboom's typing, which is great, and then I can just pivot out into Torkoal next turn. I also could have gone for Charm here onto the Incineroar slot, but, you know, Soak covers for all my opponent's switch-ins. They're going to Flare. Yep, that's fine. Okay. By the way, I think Max Torkoal is certainly a viable route to win this game as well right now. So that's another option. Wow, I actually want to go for it. Is that crazy? Just a little bit. I don't know. We're in pretty good shape right now. But the thing is, my Trick Room's expiring. That's the main thing that concerns me. The thing about Max Torkoal is that my opponent really doesn't have great switch-ins, but I'm also slightly on a timer with Incineroar, because if Incineroar gets a 1-turn Wake, we could be in some trouble. Now, I don't have Protect on Azurill. I think I kind of just like Eruption here and Charm. If you Fake Out into Torkoal... I don't know. I really think maxing Torkoal might be the call here. Just because it gives me a turn to pick up a knockout. That alone seems pretty valuable to me. So like max to go... Oh, no. They're... Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the fact that they are water type now. That actually works against us. That's a problem. I shouldn't have soaked then. I should have charmed the Dragapult slot instead. Okay, they go for Glide onto Azurill. Yep. Decent damage, but I think this comes down to whether or not I get a 1-turn Wake. Whether or not my opponent gets a 1-turn Wake. I'm a bit frustrated at myself for this one, because I actually had a pretty good path to victory if I just went for the Follow Me play with Togekiss, but I didn't see it the turn, that specific turn. Yeah, I mean, I think this basically comes down to whether or not my opponent wakes up with Incineroar this turn, right? I think if they wake up, they win, and if not, we win. I guess not even necessarily. If I'm banking off Incineroar staying asleep, I do need to just stay asleep this turn, right? Does Grassy Glide KO Runerigus? I wouldn't think so, and then I would think Max Flare picks up the knockout into RIllaboom. So what I want to go for here is Flare into RIllaboom and Trick Room here. But yeah, it comes down to, one, they're targeting this turn. I think I misplayed twice in this game. The first was by not going for Follow Me with Togekiss, and then the second was going for Soak onto the Dragapult, because I didn't consider, like, yes, I get rid of the same type attack bonus, but that doesn't really matter when I could have just pressured RIllaboom with the one-hit KO. So I don't really love how I played this game. Also, I don't know if we actually survived Glide here. Okay, we do. Good. But I need Incineroar to stay asleep this turn, right? As we trade abilities. It's funny. If Incineroar stays asleep, we should pull off the comeback, but if it wakes up and targets Runerigus, it's probably game over. But they stay asleep. Okay, I mean, the odds are in our favor there, right? We need a 2-turn sleep. But it doesn't feel great gambling on that when I could have just won the game without relying on any RNG a little bit earlier. Ooh, RIllaboom survives. Okay. I think that's fine, though. Yeah, I don't think that's actually too much of an issue. Because Incineroar shouldn't knock out the Torkoal, and I can just safely max... Do I want to Quake or Flare? Is there any reason to Quake here? No. Well, the reason to Quake is to cover for a Dragapult switch in, but Dragapult's not switching to base 150 max Flare well anyway. So we're just going to Flare here until a RIllaboom and protect with Runerigus. You know what you should do if you're my opponent? You should actually switch out RIllaboom and sack something. Oh, that would be a really good play. Huh. I wonder if they identify that. That would be a phenomenal play for them to make. So I almost want to Max Quake here to deny them a sacrifice in case they actually do switch. So we actually do Max Quake, interestingly enough. Because the thing here, what we don't want to do is let my opponent switch out RIllaboom. Okay, they stayed in anyway. But what we didn't want them to do is switch out RIllaboom, so then we get a KO on something, like Zapdos, for example, and then they get a free switch in. That would be a disaster for us. They protect with Incineroar, perfect. Okay, yeah, I think we have full control of the game now. But, like I said, I don't really love how I played this, because I feel like I had the opportunity to just have a guaranteed win if I just went with Togekiss. The only question then is how much huge power Earthquake, like with the weakness policy stuff, does into Dynamax Incineroar if grassy terrain is up. Because I was thinking, okay, let's say I sacrifice the Togekiss, I get in the Runerigus. If you can obviously switch out Dragapult into the RIllaboom, which sets up the grassy terrain, so then the question is whether or not Dynamax Incineroar under grassy terrain can take a +2 huge power Earthquake. I think I'm just going to do the calc for that after the game is over, but that is, I think, the biggest question in this one, basically. So, let's see. Either way, I think it's... The one thing we have to watch out now for my opponent's end is Ally Switch, but we have Rock Slide, so Rock Slide from Runerigus obviously covers any potential Ally Switches. I'm down to just Max Quake into... Torkoal would attack first, right? So let's say they Ally Switch. My opponent's win con is also a potential miss, so I think I'm just gonna... Can I get away with just Earthquaking right now? I don't want to risk that. I think it's fine to just Max Quake into Incineroar and Rock Slide here. Let's see. Okay, good switch. Maybe that's the one play that lets them win the game. But they protected. Okay, I think we're fine then. I think you had to have Phantom Force that turn. And, like, yeah, I mean, this is still fine in the end, right? Because, like, you get a free switch in, but the thing is now I just get to target the Dragapult slot freely, and you also give up your boosts. Rock Slide's not a 2 KO on Zapdos, though. That doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me, actually. Okay, now what? No more grassy terrain, so no more recovery. It's our last turn of Dynamax on Torkoal. Oh, no, we don't have Dynamax anymore. Oh, that actually works in our favor, because now I can just click Eruption. And there's still 2 turns of Trick Room, which is great. So I think we just go Eruption plus Rock Slide here. Yeah. That was a really good play last turn, though. I don't know. If I just... Okay, they switch out Zapdos. No, I don't... I think this is good for us if we hit the Rock Slide. I guess the question is we might not knock out Dragapult here. Yeah, I thought we were far ahead enough where, like, it was okay, but, like, I think missing the knockout on RIllaboom was actually a really big issue. Okay, so we get Eruption off. I don't think we KO Dragapult here, so I maybe should have Earthquake then. Yeah, with the Intimidate, Dragapult survives. Which means now they can Phantom Force. So I think my opponent actually takes this game. We could have gotten a flinch there, but we did not. Unless Phantom Force doesn't KO us for some reason. And then the question is how much Zapdos does into us as well. But I didn't time the Sun really well. Like, Sun stalled out at the perfect time, because I think if the Sun were up there, we get the knockout, right? We have one more turn of Trick Room, but my opponent timed this perfectly, because now you just protect Zapdos, and then just Phantom Force. There's no point in trying to protect the Phantom Force. I might as well Eruption, because I'm not going to get to go for it later on in the game anyway. And I'll just Rock Slide here. Does Zapdos not have Protect? Oh, it doesn't! Okay, then I think we still win. If we... Oh, they survived with 1. If we miss Rock Slide here... Okay. That was so scary. Because Zapdos moved... It's Scarf Zapdos, right? It moved before Dragapult in the beginning of the game. It's gotta be. Yeah, they Phantom Force, but you're not winning the 1v1 against Torkoal. All I have to do is click Earth Power, right? Your hope is to crit Phantom Force right now to Torkoal, but even then, I don't know if that's enough for a knockout. Now, Dragapult does get access to Dive. So if it has Dive here, that would be wild. Anyway, we just always Earth Power here. This wasn't a very well executed matchup on my end. I feel like I had would have had a significantly easier time. I also walked into a bunch of obvious plays, which I didn't necessarily mind at the time, but looking back, like, they just go for Dragon Darts. So double crit here, I guess is what they're going for, because we should survive. Okay, even a double crit isn't enough. I was gonna say that first one did enough where I was like, oh, if that wasn't a crit and a crit comes out, we lose. I don't know why I didn't like identify that it was Scarf Zapdos earlier. It was very clearly Scarf Zapdos based off how turn 1 played out. Like, I don't know why I didn't, like, fully connect that until now. So that makes a lot of sense. Scarf Zapdos, that's really interesting. Yeah, definitely a fun set of games here. This one, like, I don't know, if it didn't feel like the best, just because, like, if Incineroar wakes up on turn 2 of its sleep, they should just instantly win. So we were lucky to even avoid that. And, like, I think I could have been in a position where I didn't really need to rely on RNG. Quite frankly, in all the 5 wins we had with this team, like, I got very lucky, honestly, in most of them. So feels bad because I think, like, this team certainly doesn't need to rely on RNG to win. And I just didn't play well enough to, like, put myself in positions where I, like, didn't need to fully rely on it. Especially in that first episode where I feel like, I don't know, all the good fortune was just on us. So I'll take it. Great team to play with, and in the end, this was, like, surprisingly effective in terms of win-loss, like, partially because I think it's, once again, just the element of surprise. No one knows what a 0 plus Runerigus does. However, I suspect, if you try out this team at this point, maybe some people have seen it, so it might decrease that surprise factor a little bit, but still really fun at the end of the day. And how often can you say you used a 0 or a Runerigus, right? Not very often. So it's going to be it for this one. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like, and I'll catch you all next time. Don't forget to check out the team and the creator and the original team report all down in the description below. All right, peace.